Entrepreneurs and small business owners, are you feeling overwhelmed by lack of capital, growth challenges, or personal branding? You are not alone. UCS Advisors is here for you. We're professional capital raising advisors committed to helping you secure funding and grow your business. Are you ready to impress investors? Check your investor readiness with our free 45-second quiz at ucsquiz.com. We believe in you. Visit ucsquiz.com and start your success journey. And remember, always be willing to achieve your greatness.
We're so happy to announce our brand new partnership with the New Jersey Lottery. As their slogan goes, anything can happen in Jersey, and that is so true. Welcome to Greetings from the Garden State, powered by the New Jersey Lottery. All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Greetings from the Garden State, a special episode today. Happy Halloween to everyone that's listening. This episode is coming out on October 31st. We're recording it, obviously, a little bit earlier. We're joined by Dan Johnson and Joey Viola, two of my favorite Morristown historians. Really excited to talk to you guys. Also, thank you to Glenbrook Brewery in Morristown, New Jersey, for letting us use the space and for the drinks. So I thought it would just be like a cool idea because Dan and I had a chat about one of these stories that we're going to tell on this podcast. And I was like, we got to do that as like a show. And then what better thing to add to that whole experience than some beers, you know?
Yes.
Totally. So just so everyone kind of knows who you guys are, if they don't see you out and about around town. So Joey, we'll start with you. Just give us like a quick who you are. You're from Morristown.
Yeah, born and raised Morristown, been here my whole life. I'll probably end up being here the rest of my life. Hang around town, come here, drink a tavern off the green, play a lot of pool. That's basically my life. I love history, love the history of this town.
Yeah.
And it's just, there's a lot of crazy stuff that happened in this town, and hopefully some of these are going to be a little spooky.
Yeah.
Hope so.
I think so.
Yeah.
You were on the were you on the pool team that
Yes.
that went to Vegas, right?
Yes, I have the shirt.
Oh, love that. Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I'm very good at advertising the pool team.
Yeah. See, I pay attention.
Yeah.
I'm not just like some guy that just hangs around. Oh, I'm tapped in.
Yeah. We are still the reigning APA New Jersey pool champions.
Amazing.
I went to Vegas. We made it to the fourth round.
Wow.
We drank a lot. We drank way more than we played pool. So that's the most important part.
You got to win a pool. You got to stay loose.
Yeah.
You know? Totally.
Well, our team, we drank way more than. We really care about having fun.
Yeah.
We accidentally won.
Oh.
That's how we say it.
Sure. Yeah. That's great though. I love that. I love that you got this. I love that shirt too.
Joe Miller did it.
Yeah.
Joe Miller.
Great. Shout out Joe Miller.
Yeah.
Dan Johnson. I've been living in Morristown since 2011. I moved here on a whim for I'll give it a year. I moved here and I fell in love with the town.
Yeah.
I went to school to study history. I have a very expensive degree I don't use in history.
But I have a very expensive degree I don't use in political science.
Oh, sweet,
like the same kind of guy.
Kindred spirits over here.
Yeah. That's why we get along so well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I do amateur history, I guess you call it, on the side, and just love learning more about Morristown, what's going on here, and all the cool stories here. I think for me, Morristown's a place where for hundreds of years, all these people have walked around, and we're walking on the same ground these people walked on. It's kind of wild to think that they might still be here. Right. Yeah. These people that, from 400 years ago are just kind of hanging out in town,
just chilling.
And yeah. And, there's so many stories. There's so many stories that aren't really told too, I feel like. Yeah. That we don't even know about, that people have their personal ghost stories or personal stories, or they heard something one day and they're like, that was weird.
Yeah.
So that's just what really fascinates me about everything with this. I'm excited to tell you some stories.
Yeah. I'm excited to hear some stories. So really, it was in your little garage bar.
Yes.
You have some pictures and stuff and we started talking about that one guy, which we'll get to towards the end of the episode. But and that's was really the impetus behind this whole episode was Dan's kind of amateur historian diving into the records at the library.
Yeah. I think I like to say the only Morristown history themed bar in Morristown.
Yeah.
Very exclusive though, so it's invite
Very
only.
exclusive.
So
Yeah.
Mike's been lucky enough to get an invite.
A couple of times.
Not everyone, not a lot.
No.
So
yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, it's just something for me. It's fascinating. You can hold these things in your hand that at one point was the most important thing in someone's life.
Sure.
You know, that was like this really cool moment that someone shared that's pretty much forgotten.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Totally. Okay, so I want to get into some stories. So we're going to start off with there's a mass grave in Morristown that people may not know.
In the heart of Morristown.
In the heart of Morristown, which is even crazier to think about. So who wants to kick that one off? Joe, you want to do that one first?
Yeah, well, of course, I feel like Morristown is mostly known, being a person who's been here my whole life, is now from people outside Morristown. It's known for drinking in the downtown and having a good night and, you know, being a kind of like a mini Hoboken.
Yeah.
And the heart of that is the Green. Right next to the Green is the Presbyterian Church, which used to own the Green, all the land. Where we are now, this was part of the church.
Yeah.
Go down to the train station, that was the church, owned all of it. And during the Revolutionary War, there was a smallpox outbreak where hundreds of people died. And right behind the church is a graveyard that not a lot of people know about. Itself is very spooky.
They don't really know where it is back there either. It's just kind of like
You
there's a
can't
marker
just
that
walk
says-
by. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you were to go behind the church, you'll never know it's there.
Yeah.
Right. You know, the cemetery is there, but not necessarily a mass grave. Is that what you're saying?
No, so the mass grave is in the cemetery.
Oh, I gotcha.
It's unmarked.
Yeah. Okay.
You don't really know.
Yeah.
But basically, there's roughly 150 bodies.
Yeah.
Buried right behind the church, right next to the Green, right next to 30 feet away from the grasshopper. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So people line up to get into the grasshopper on Saturday night, not knowing that there's 150 people who died for smallpox, and then another probably 150 just people who've been dead since the 1750s.
Yeah. Right.
Yes, and it's, you know, none of the relatives are alive of the people who are known who are buried there.
Right.
So it's a little bit dilapidated. The church doesn't have enough money to keep it up. So it's pretty spooky.
Yeah.
Broken down graves.
There's like spare graves. It's kind of, if you go in the back against the fence, there's just tombstones with nothing on them.
Yes.
Like stacked up.
Broken down
It's just
tombstones.
really scary. You're like, who are those for?
Yeah.
I remember one time I was walking back there because it was like during like 2020, and I was just finding like new places to walk. And there was like a storm that came through 2020,
Yes.
and that tree came down.
Yes.
And it basically like uncovered one.
So,
You couldn't see in it, but it was like if you really got down in there and like checked it out, like you could see.
You know the story about Headquarters Plaza?
No.
When they were building Headquarters Plaza, if you go up Water Street, there's a retaining wall there.
Yeah.
That's a huge concrete retaining wall. When they were building that, something happened. There was a storm or something happened. It collapsed. And all these bodies flowed out on the Water Street.
Yeah,
from the
flew
grave.
right down. And they got reinterned at Evergreen. So if you go to Evergreen Cemetery on MLK, they have a plaque somewhere where they say, these bones just re-entered here, you know, we don't know.
Yeah. It's,
Yeah, but so when that tree fell down, that was, I believe it was Condict, Sinclair Condict. I know the last name was Condict. Silas Condict, there you go. He helped write the New Jersey Declaration of Independence.
oh.
Very, very influential New Jerseyan, very, very influential Morristonian. His house is still standing. It's the Monticello School, I think, on Cutler.
Yeah.
That's his house. And I do have photos of bones showing.
In that, what I was talking about.
Yes, yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I
So
drove
right after
back
it
there
happened,
and I
the
was like-
person who I know walked by.
Yeah.
And you could see like a femur bone. I mean, it's crazy. And it took him a long time to fix that up.
And I think
Yeah.
that's like what's crazy about the mass grave is that people forget when the American Revolution was going on, like from 1775 to like late 1780, there was a smallpox epidemic. So like the American Revolution was being fought with like essentially the equivalent of COVID was going on.
Sure.
Yeah.
At that time, and like nobody really talks about that, but
Yeah.
these soldiers were being put in these camps and they were being pulled from like, you know, some of them be from upstate New York. They'd never seen New Jersey before. They were from all over the, you know, what was then not the United States, but the colonies at that
Right.
point. And they're being brought in and they're just dying of smallpox. And then they're dumped in this graveyard that they've never, place they have no affinity for. They have no ties to this place.
Yeah.
They're just there forever.
Forever. Yeah.
Well, it's hard conditions because, you know, Morristown and Joggy Hollow, where Joggy Hollow has another mass grave, and there's a little plaque there. It kind of doesn't stand out, but That's not really from. I mean, I'm sure there was some smallpox, deaths involved, but that's more about people dying from just a bit of cold.
Sure.
From other diseases.
That's like more soldiers and stuff, right?
Yeah, that's all soldiers.
Yeah.
And Jockey Hollow and Morristown in general don't get the respect I think it deserves in the Revolutionary War terms because there was no battle.
Sure.
The reason why Fort Nonsense is called Fort Nonsense is because it was nonsensical to have it. Nothing, we looked at Springfield and was like, oh, there's a battle. We're good. But
We'll look at it.
Yeah.
That looks scary. We're not going to.
But the 2 winters that the troops spent here were grueling.
Yeah.
One had the smallpox epidemic, which was just,
Sure.
imagine the worst plague you could think of. And the people from the town are dying, the soldiers are dying. These soldiers are away from home. They're just, they don't even know that, but they're dead already, know. And then the next time they come here, it's one of the worst winters ever. And you're just trying to survive and you're freezing to death. And, at that point, the war's not going the way you really want it to go.
Sure.
And it's just miserable. You're just here. And that's why there was a little mutiny. And that the second 1779,
1779. Yeah, it was.
there was a little mutiny that happened over there. So it was tough.
Yeah.
So imagine all these people dying. It's cold. It's like a living hell.
Sure.
And all those people are dead and buried in town, in the middle of town. People don't know about it. And it's when you go back there, nobody's ever back there at the Presbyterian, the graveyard. You feel something. It's very,
Yeah, it gets
It's
really
really quiet back there.
Yeah.
It's very quiet.
You're surrounded by buildings, but for some reason back there, it's just so quiet. And it's interesting too because you see on the green, you have Washington and Hamilton and Lafayette, this monument to them.
Yeah,
Sure, right.
Everyone knows that, right? And 50 feet away from it, there's this mass grave of their army of 100 and something guys who just nobody's ever gonna know who they are.
Yeah.
People living in Morristown might be related to these people, and they have no idea relatives buried.
Completely unknown, yeah.
Yeah. I think is also interesting about that, because we were talking off mic before we got started, and that you have that back there, but also in that same cemetery, you have, like you said, the names of all the streets in Morristown are buried back there. Which is, to me, is such a crazy
Or
disconnect.
Lindsay, Miller, Cutler, Felix, King, Vale, all the bigwigs.
Yeah.
Every name except for, I don't think there was a Pine or a Speedwell. Yeah. And there was no MOK from our sound, but
Right.
all the other names are behind that church.
Yeah.
And they made the town. And, not to go into it, but there's other really interesting, there's, because, this was before the Civil War, there's slaves graves back there that you could see. I mean, it's really interesting, the dynamic of the races that happened through this town, through this country. But even more unknown, maybe not as eerie, was on the physical green. It was the courthouse was there, the original courthouse, but during the war was a prisoner of war camp for British loyalists. And that's not a fun time for anybody.
No, definitely not.
And they died. They died from smallpox. They died from deprivation. And the same thing. Nobody knows what happened to those bodies. I've heard rumors that there may be graves on the green.
Yeah.
I've heard ghost stories about people saying things on the green. Usually I think it's homeless people. But, that's more likely.
Sure.
Or maybe me drunk trying to get home from the Eagles Club. But it's, you walk through the green, it's such a pleasant, it's beautiful.
It's, amazing.
It really makes Morristown a special place.
Right.
And to think, this was a prisoner of war camp.
Yeah.
And it was also a place where there was mass hangings that we'll get into later. But, a lot of gruesome, stuff happened there.
Right. You said just the misery that was happening on the green at that point in time, and now you come fast forward to today. It's like
they do the Christmas tree lighting. Santa's out there.
Yeah.
Just such a total difference.
Let's get hot dogs from Sophie.
Yeah. I love Sophie.
Yeah, exactly.
when that cold wind blows off the cemetery, you're like, what's that? Because all these people that were here, none of them were from here.
Yeah.
People buried there that have the names on their gravestones were from here, but a lot of people buried in the mass grave, they didn't have family here. That's why they're in the mass grave. So, if there's British soldiers on the green, they were from United Kingdom. They were from, wherever. And a lot of them
Irish.
and they were, a lot of them weren't even here by choice. They just ended up here because they got forced into the army.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now they're like essentially, you talk about ghosts. It's like, what is it? It's unsettled energy. I can't think of anything more unsettled than being thousands of miles away from your home.
From your home. Yeah,
buried
exactly.
in an unmarked grave.
Yeah.
It's freezing to death.
Yeah.
You've been to the Jockey Hollow, the little cabins?
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, just imagine being there,
No.
being in those cabins for 4 months.
Yeah.
Without,
Fuck.
yeah, without, and it's not like just us, us two and the
Yeah.
cameraman. There's 8 guys.
Right. Yeah.
And we're just there. And we don't,
Blanket. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
And we don't have a cell phone. We
Right.
don't have we're just here.
Yeah.
hanging out.
You know?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to think too that like I just think it's so interesting. Also, like you're talking about like the Jockey Hollow one, you can go for a hike through Jockey Hollow and
Oh, Jockey Hollow's beautiful.
walk right by it and never know, but just because it's so beautiful now, and then even just like the stuff we're talking about with the green and the church and the mass grave out there, like to me that's just like a crazy thing. Like you're right on top of it like all the time.
Yeah.
We could be right on top of it. Like we don't know.
No.
That's what's so crazy about a town like this that just has so much history to it. You know what I mean?
I think there's so much history too that's kind of been paved over a little bit. I mean, you look at other historical towns, and there's historical buildings on maybe their main center of town that were there, like Arnold's Tavern, for example.
Yeah.
There's a bank there.
Yeah.
Or it's like that was like a pivotal place in the American Revolution. That's where like Washington is Alexander Hamilton met for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a huge moment in American history, and it's like a bank.
Yeah.
It's like it was built in 1980.
There's a lot of banks in very famous
Yeah.
places in Morristown.
Yeah, but it's sad in a sense, but it's also like there's these energy in all these places probably that still exist that
Yeah.
people are that you don't really think about as you're walking by them. That like these crazy things were happening right here.
Yeah.
You read about the books and it was like right in your town.
Yeah, totally. That's crazy. Okay, I want to get to. We're gonna do one more story because we did the smallpox mass grave, we did the Jockey Hollow mass grave. We're gonna do one more story here in the first half of the episode. And we're gonna get to 2 more in the latter half, just because the one in the latter half is definitely my favorite so far. I don't know about all of them, but
Okay.
Let's do the Foster Fields one. I know you said there's not like a ton that you have about that.
Yeah, I give this
but, yeah,
it's a little bit interesting, the person who was involved.
sure, yeah, for sure.
All right, well, so Foster Fields, which is now it's Foster Fields Living Historical Farm. It's a pretty cool place. If you want to go pet a goat, it's a good place to go.
Sounds great.
Great place for
Again,
field trips.
it's just a crazy thing, like with all these nice, cute, funny, or like, beautiful things.
Yeah.
And then now there's going to be like some terrible story that happened there before.
Well, basically, I mean, again, as somebody who grew up here, I've probably took 100 field trips to Foster Fields. So I can kind of map out everything. But the person who lived there in the 1850s, I believe this happened, was Joseph Warren Revere, who is Paul Revere's grandson.
Okay.
He was a Civil War general, super interesting guy. He was in the Navy too for the Italians. I mean, he fought all over the world.
Wow.
He was head of the New Jersey Brigade. He was head of the 7th New Jersey. That was the Morristown regiment. Very cool guy. One of the coolest beards.
We love that.
Just fiery.
Yeah.
you know.
I feel out of place right now, but
Yeah.
I screwed up.
It's okay.
I should have a fake beard for this. I wish I knew.
So somehow he ended up at Morristown, and there's a specific name for the house he built there at Foster Fields. It's still there. It's beautiful. And his family was there, and sadly, his daughter died when she was very young. And I forget the exact age, and it really devastated him. And he sold the house. He moved into another building that's still there on Dehart Street, which was the same building that Lafayette stayed at.
Oh, yeah, the white one next to the new apartment building.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a private residence now, but super historic. So he moved in there, and it was just lost his daughter, that stuff. But forever, I mean, since I was a kid, even before me, when my dad was a kid growing up here, they would always say at nighttime, you would see a little girl in white walking around the farm.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine's uncle, who's a hunter, put out a camera.
Yeah. Like one of those trail cam things.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm not an actual believer of I can see Casper the ghost. Like I could see I believe in spooky things, but like an actual physical thing.
Sure.
But he took a photo of a pretty creepy looking white figure just like walking around Foster Fields. And that's just a big thing that people always bring up. And it's that, and of course it has all the great connections. young, innocent girl dead, nighttime.
Right.
So that is this one little story, And then the other one to connect with this is the Morris County Library, the one on Hanover Ave.
Yeah, Morris County Library. Yep.
So I don't know how true it is, but reportedly that might have been built over Leatherpee Indian burial ground.
That's like the one thing that I know you don't do. Is like you mess with like
I've seen that movie 100 times.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's always a thing,
Yes.
like move something and it just, everything goes awry.
So these are really the two stories that really get into more like spooky.
Yeah.
It was the Indian burial ground, but there are two people who I respect a lot who told me they saw some creepy shit there.
Yeah.
And one is my father. He played a lot of jokes on me, but I don't think he's joking about this. So my dad used to be a county guard,
Okay.
and that's going to come back in our last story too. He would have to check on all the county buildings like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., which in itself is pretty scary. You're the only person that
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Right.
So he goes in there, he checks out the library, everything's off. So there's one computer on in the children's room. So he walks up, he has to see what's going on. And all of a sudden he starts hearing something. And he says he thought, oh, somebody's here, he has to yell. And it sounded like children. He went in there, and then all of a sudden the computer went off, and then it went back on again. And he kept hearing voices. He just ran the hell out of there.
I don't blame him.
And my dad can't run.
Yeah.
He was hit by a car like in the 80s, and he can barely walk, but he ran.
Yeah.
So he got out of there, went back to the county court, the courthouse right in Morristown. And, he went in, and his boss said, John, did you check on everything? He said, yeah, but at the library I left. I didn't finish the checkup. And they said, why? He's like, because I heard voices. There was something going on in the children's room. He's like, John, you got to get back to the duty. He said, hell no, I'll quit.
Yeah.
I'll quit. There's something in there. So he leaves, and he goes I forget his last name, Benny. Old Filipino guy, super cool guy. Very in touch with emotions and things.
Sure. A feeling.
Yes. So my dad goes up to Benny, and he says, Benny, I was at the library, and I saw the lights and all this stuff. And he goes like, oh, yes, I know them. They're good spirits, though. Good spirits.
Yeah.
And then until he retired, every time at night he would go in there, there would be something weird going on in the children's room.
Nah, I would have quit that day.
Yeah. I literally would never go back.
Yeah.
Yeah. No more books for me. Even during the day, I'm out.
I'm literate now, and
I don't want to read at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was... He saw a lot of spooky crap doing that job.
Yeah.
And, I have more stories with the last story we'll tell, but just two little quick, dead children ghost stories.
Sure. Classic.
Everybody loves a dead child ghost story. Morristown's Everett.
The most unsettling of all the
Yes.
Of all the ghost stories.
Yeah, and it connects Native Americans. It connects to the Civil War. It connects to Foster Fields, a great place to take your kids.
Yeah. Great place to take your kids. Have a nice day on the green. Go to the Grasshopper for some lunch,
We're
Go out to the Foster Fields.
ruining Morristown for everyone. Right?
Yeah.
Every spot in Morristown.
Yeah, sorry, Morristown. Okay, so this has been great. We're going to do two more in our second half. So we're going to take our break. So this is the Greetings from the Garden State podcast. I'm Mike Ham. This is our special Halloween edition episode of Greetings from the Garden State. We're at Glenbrook Brewery, Morristown, New Jersey, with Dan Johnson and Joey Viola. We'll be right back.
The Mayo Performing Arts Center is the heart of arts and entertainment in Morristown, New Jersey. MPAC presents over 200 events annually and is home to an innovative children's arts education program. To see MPAC's upcoming schedule of world-class concerts, stand-up comedy, family shows, and more, head to mayoarts.org or just click the link in our show notes.
Want to give your guests something they'll talk about for years? OMG Tarot delivers spot-on tarot card readings that will make your next birthday party, holiday party, team lunch, or girls' night unforgettable. To learn more, visit omgtarot.com.
I wanted to tell you about the crew over at Make Cool Shit. These are the magicians who recently gave our podcast a jaw-dropping makeover and shares our same Garden State attitude. Whether you're a fresh-faced startup or a seasoned business looking to shake things up, it's all about making your brand sizzle. We're not just talking about design, we're talking about a partnership in creating awesomeness, and I can promise you they can make that happen. Plus, their unlimited Cool Shit design subscription is a game changer. Unlimited creativity, one flat monthly fee, and none of that boring stuff. It's like having your own design superheroes on speed dial. Check them out on Instagram at We Make Cool Shit or visit their website, wemakecoolshit.co. We're so happy to announce our brand new partnership with the New Jersey Lottery. As their slogan goes, anything can happen in Jersey, and that is so true. Welcome to Greetings from the Garden State, powered by the New Jersey Lottery. All right, we're back for segment 2 of this episode of Greetings from the Garden State, special episode, Halloween edition, telling ghost stories in Morristown. I'm Mike Ham. We're here with Dan Johnson and Joey Viola. We're here at Glenbrook Brewery, who has provided us with the space and the beers and the waters.
Yes.
So we appreciate them for that. So shout out to them. And also Thomas Lasso filming us today. Thank you for that. We'll make you a sponsor today, too. Look at that. I'm just such a giving guy.
You are.
You know?
It's almost Thanksgiving, you know, you're getting ready.
Literally, yeah. But so the first segment we just talked about, like when I went down there to refill my beer, I said we were talking about mass graves in Morristown, and they were like, what?
Man.
Like, they were like, no idea.
And dead children.
And dead children. I left that part out. I don't want to give it all away, you know? But we got a couple more to get through before we get to the end of this episode. I want to talk about the Morristown ghost first.
Yes.
So Morristown ghost, you had brought that one up, so I'm going to let Dan kick that one off.
Yeah, so Morristown Ghost is interesting because it's like a ghost story that people in Morristown have only seen one time.
Yeah.
So we go back to the American Revolution. In the American Revolution, people, you know, you think of the colonists, you have the loyalists, and the loyalists, you know, were here before, and they had all the money. So there was a theory in Morristown that right at when the revolution started and all the loyalists fled Morristown, they had all this gold and treasure, and they buried it in the woods up by Hackettstown, by top of Schooley's Mountain.
Yeah.
And they buried this huge trove of treasure. And when the revolution was over, once they beat Washington, they sent them back packing to Virginia. They were going to go get their gold back and just live their lives again in the British colonies. That was the plan. That was the rumor that was spread around town. Nobody knows if it's actually true or not. But people forget, like, back in early American history and colonial history, like, people were super superstitious, like way more now than they were back then. They believed in magic. They believed in goblins. They believed in all this weird stuff. So fast forward, after the American Revolution's over, the war ends, and everyone's like, where's this gold? So they're looking for the gold. Nobody can find the gold.
Yeah.
And they're convinced that it's guarded by hobgoblins and ghouls, and there's this spell. And
It's honestly why they lost the war.
Yes, yeah. Well, they should have used those to fight the war. They probably would have won the war. That was their big path, and no wonder they made it.
Yeah.
We had the hobgoblins.
So
We had the French and the hobgoblins.
So they're looking for this gold, and this guy named Ransford Rogers is up in Connecticut, and he's just an interesting character. He's semi-illiterate. He meets two people at a tavern one night. He's probably drinking whatever, Applejack or whatever they were drinking back then, cider. And they talk about this buried treasure near Morristown, New Jersey. And he's like, where's Morristown, New Jersey? And they're like, oh, we'll take you there. So he comes to Morristown, New Jersey. He somehow gets here and becomes a school teacher immediately. Semi-literate. Yeah, semi-literate.
Yeah.
But he also had like a weird background in chemistry. So while he's here, he starts to hear about the people all looking for this gold that's buried up there. And he goes, I have an idea. So he hatches this plan, and he called it the Spirit Club. And essentially he befriended a couple rich people in town, and he said to them, hey, I know how to like get the spell off the gold. Like from an educated background, I'm a chemist. I can figure this out.
Yeah.
I know the secret code to get this spell off. So he convinces, I think it was 50 people in Morristown. They would go out into the woods. They would ride out to the middle of the woods, and he would put them all in a circle. And because he was a chemist, he would like go out the night before and like rig up gunpowder, rig up like sheets on strings. And when they would all get there, he would start doing incantations and spells, and then like set off the gunpowder, stuff would explode. There'd be a sheet would go up. But these are people who like have lived in Morristown their entire life. They've never seen any of this stuff before.
Yeah.
So they all go, wow, this guy, he knows his stuff. So he goes, but the one thing is these hobgoblins, we need to show them that we're pure, we're in this, we're in this fully.
Yeah.
So I need $30 from each of you, which $30 back then is an insane amount of money. And these are all some of the richest men in Morristown. And all of them pretty much just go, sure. Why would we not give you $30? We want the gold. Like,
right.
We'll give you 30 and we'll make 100. This is a great deal.
Yeah.
So they give him $30. He goes, I got to do my stuff in the woods. He goes in the woods. There's explosions and there's, all this stuff going on. And a couple of like weeks later, he comes back. He goes, the ghosts, they didn't think we were pure enough. I think it was 13 pounds of gold from each of you. And at this point, all of these guys' wives are like, what is this? What is this? So he starts going around town dressed as a ghost with like a couple other people that he convinced that this, like, they were going to make all this money.
Yeah.
Dressed as a ghost, walking around town. He would like knock on these guys' windows at night dressed as a ghost. He would like walk through town dressed as a ghost at night. And then one of the wives at one point, one of the men who was like super invested in this goes, "Do ghosts wear shoes?" So he's doing this, and eventually everyone in the town's like, "Wait a second, this guy isn't like, he doesn't know how to talk to hobgoblins. He's a scam artist." So he gets wise to this. He flees. He gets immediately arrested. He gets brought back to Morristown.
Yeah.
They put him in jail, probably on the green. This is right after the American Revolution. They put him in jail again, right on the green. He somehow escapes again. I don't know like how they were guarding this guy. Yeah,
unbelievable.
He escapes again, and he just disappears with everyone's money. And to this day, nobody has seen him. He's gone.
Yeah.
And the hobgoblins are still up in the woods somewhere.
Right.
Guarding this treasure that exists up there. And this guy was never seen again. And like afterwards, throughout like the media area, there were all these like random stories about this teacher that stole these people's money because he said he could get gold.
Yeah.
But they never like traced it back to him directly. So he was called the Morristown Ghost because he came into town, he stole everyone's money, he dressed like a ghost, and he just disappeared as quickly as he came in. And to this day, like nobody really knows what happened to him, where he ended up. Like, you know, and all these people in Morristown like lost all this money because of this guy. And it's kind of like, it's just like a funny story about like these con artists that exist like all through history. Like,
Oh, of course.
Were like just as prevalent back then. You know, this supposedly like pure time that everyone talks about. It was
Right.
the same exact thing.
The good old days.
Yeah.
You out there just like stealing shit and
So there still might be gold in Hackettstown. So if anyone's, you know, if next time you're ever like Zigmeister or Mansker or one of those breweries, go in the woods and see if you could find some.
let's just go after this.
Yeah. You had to talk to hobgoblins at all?
Yeah.
Or-
I don't know. I could look into it.
Okay.
I can understand. I just can't speak.
Yeah. I know a lot of guys who ask me for $30. I mean, I don't know.
You still get that in Morristown a lot, actually. Yeah.
No one asked me for 13 bars of gold, though.
No.
That would be a first.
Yeah.
Of my
Yeah. That's a really interesting one.
Yeah.
Glad you threw that one in.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty funny one.
It's like a little bit less morbid than some of the first ones we did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the terrible
Yeah.
winters and the dead children,
Yeah.
mass graves,
Yeah, this guy was just a con
smallpox and shit.
Yeah.
But no, I'm glad you.
That's the Morristown Ghost.
Morristown Ghost.
And they've had like plays since then. And they've done like there's like a couple books about him. But he's like this mysterious figure that just like vanished one day. He's the Morristown Ghost. So when you talk about Morristown ghost stories, you have to talk about the Morristown Ghost.
Oh, of course.
It's the Morristown Ghost.
Yeah. Okay. Now we're getting into literally the story that you told me at that party that was kind of the again, the impetus behind this episode. So I don't want to say what I call the story because I think it's going to ruin the story for everyone that's listening. Yeah. We're not going to hit the punchline first, but so let's get to the next story. This is going to be our last. We're going to hit them with the finale, the big story that we're going to tell. So who wants to kick this one off?
I can like set the scene if you want.
Yeah, well, you were the one who.
Set the scene.
So I think people like forget that Morristown back, like this is 1833 in Morristown, that where today is the hospital, where all these things are, was just like farmland.
Sure.
Yeah.
And Morristown's population at the time was like, I think 2,500 people. Or,
It was 3,000.
yeah, so it was small, very small town. Yeah, Morristown back then was not like it is today. It was a hub, but it was a small town. The green was still there.
It wasn't even really Morristown yet. It was still Morris Township.
Yeah. True.
Technically.
Yeah. So like the green was a place that people came to do their daily life. Like, you know, they would trade, they would buy food, they would go to the tavern.
Yeah.
There was probably as many taverns back then. That's
There
now.
were free range cattle. There would be cows walking through the green. Yeah.
Really?
It was a completely open space.
Yeah.
No trees, completely open. It was crazy land and like what he said.
Yeah, so-
and there was a courthouse.
Yeah.
So when you think of like as pure can get, like that like American ideal of like the pastoral community and everything, that was Morristown at this point in time.
Yeah. I remember hearing this story before you get started, just on the green. And this is not ghost related, but I just think because you guys seem to know way more about this than most people that I know. Like the green has like a significance in like why Washington picked here, because of like it's like if you go one way, you're going towards the city. If you're going the other way, you're going towards like Philly or something like that. Is that like a real?
From the green, you can go any direction. I mean, you
Yeah.
can get to 4 different main routes.
Right.
So you get to Philly, to get to New York, or just to get
To,
upstate, downstate. Yeah, it was strategically really got
Like we were super close to losing the American Revolution throughout the entire American Revolution. So like he just was like, this is the only place I can go right now where like I can't get surrounded or like pinned somewhere.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
kind of centrally located. I could flee in 2 directions. So, like,
Gotcha.
you know, people just don't really like think about that as like, you know, you think of American Revolution.
A good way to put it is that Colorado football game that just happened. It was the whole game. Colorado was winning until the last second of the game. That's the American Revolution. The whole time.
Yeah, we were losing.
We were losing.
Yeah.
To that last second, Washington kick a field goal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's all. And I think like just to kind of tangent here, like Washington's like an interesting character because when you think of like great military leaders, he wasn't a great like he wasn't a great like tactician or like strategist really. Like he was just really good at keeping an army together.
Yeah.
That's all he needed to do because he constantly lost. He lost battles like every year, huge losses, but he just kept the army together, and that's why like you remember him. So like when you see the statues of him, like that's kind of what you want to think about. Like he wasn't like this.
He's the Ted Lasso of
Yes.
they lose constantly and then they win at the very last minute kind of thing. You know,
Calls a person who's
Yeah.
but he kept everyone together.
Exactly.
Good culture.
Yes.
He's a
It's all about culture.
Yeah,
It's all about
culture guy.
culture. Big culture guy. Big workplace culture guy, you know?
Yeah, what was that? At Sign the Ted Lasso, Believe? Yeah, that's when he had it, the Ford Mansion. Believe, all right, touch it, slam it. Hamilton slapped it.
Yeah, all of them. They're all walking by. I mean, every time they went out to fight or do something, they all slopped it.
No, you guys go back to the tents. I have a fire.
It's a little cold out here. Like, I'm going to go inside. But
I'm going to just sleep in this tavern for a couple months.
Yeah. But now I sleep in a tavern and I'm not a hero. What if these?
Yeah.
I'm a degenerate.
Yeah,
right.
Jeez.
Yeah, unbelievable.
So,
Sorry to cut you off.
no, that's totally okay. That's totally okay. But that was Morristown at the time. Like, I think in anything that happened in Morristown, like, everybody in town knew about it right away. Like, minor scandals or anything that happened. Like, if it was like, someone's cow got loose, they would be like, so-and-so's cow got. Like, that was this, that would
It
spread
was
so
a
quickly.
normal, tight
Yeah.
community.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess enter Antoine Le Blanc. He was a French immigrant. He was from a noble family in France. He came here, but probably because I think he was like the second or third son of a noble family, which means he wasn't getting any land, he wasn't getting his inheritance. So he came here to find the American dream, and he found something.
Yeah.
I like that. But yeah, I don't know if you want to pick up from there.
Well, basically, I mean, I don't know. I don't think there's a lot you can know about Antoine Le Blanc while he's here, but he basically became an indentured servant to the Sawyers, and they had a house where the TD Bank is now on
Crazy with the banks.
Yeah.
It's always a bank.
Yeah.
Don't trust the banks.
Yeah.
On South Street. And TD Bank actually has a beautiful mural.
Yeah.
I don't go to TD Bank, but I look at the mural, I was like, wow, that's a really, but they knocked down a extremely important historical building.
Sure.
So screw it.
It's one of the few tragedies they have like a memorial for him.
Yeah. But so he was basically a indentured servant to this family.
And like what that means is like he worked in exchange for just like having a roof over his head. He didn't make any money.
Right.
He lived in a cold cellar, and maybe he got too fed up. Maybe he had an argument. I don't really know.
Yeah, I think he was out drinking one night.
He was drinking.
He was drinking.
This guy, a lot of this story is him drinking at places.
Yeah,
I probably like drinking.
Yeah.
As I take a sip of my beer.
Right. Yeah. Tell me more about that.
But he
was drinking at a local tavern.
And mind you, he only been in the United States. This is 1833. He'd only been here for 2 weeks at this point. So this guy had such a low tolerance.
He got fed up quick.
He got fed up that quickly of being whatever.
Come from like a noble family to an indentured servant in America.
Yeah.
Like that's got to be.
So he came back around 11 or 12 o'clock to the Sawyer house, grabbed a shovel, and as naturally as a person would do, smashes Mr. Sawyer's head in, kills his wife, and of course the servant girl, I believe her name was Phoebe. Yes. And
she's buried in the Presbyterian church.
she's buried. They all three, I believe, are buried in the Presbyterian church.
Yeah. It's like kind of like a combination of like.
So there's not enough bad juju in that. Yeah, exactly.
It's like everything.
Yeah, more fun.
Yeah.
Like it's not cursed enough over there. Now this is also there too. Yeah.
So he murders May 11th, 1833. The trial. Oh, he gets caught. He runs off. I think they catch him in Hackettstown. Actually,
They caught him in Jersey City.
in Jersey City.
So he was
and another bar.
Well, the way they caught him is also is funny in the context of this story.
Yeah.
It's funny. When he murders the family, this guy's like a classic just jerk. So like he's like, well,
Oh, let's not go. Let's not go that.
Yeah. Like that.
but he goes, of course I'm gonna rob them too. So he robs them. He takes like, and it's a wealthy family in Morristown, so they have silver and they have all this stuff in their house. He takes it. He shoves it in a pillowcase. He steals all the jewels. Steals the jewels. He steals the man of the house's suit. Of course, because why would you? Once you kill someone, you take all their clothes, obviously, and you run off with them.
Yeah.
Steals his horse, and he rides east. And his idea is like, I'm gonna before anyone knows what happens here, I'm going to ride east. I'm going to get a boat back to Europe, and nobody's ever going to hear from me again. I'm going to have all this gold and
And
silver.
horse stealing alone would get you killed too.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing.
Yeah, right.
You killed 3 people, but you stole that man's horse.
Yeah, you're double down on it.
But this moron doesn't tie the bag. So literally from Morristown to Jersey City, there is a breadcrumb of stolen stuff, jewels falling out of the pillowcase that he stole everything at.
That's unbelievable.
So the next morning, like, you know, people obviously like notice something's up at the farm.
Sure.
They go over there, they form a posse, which back then, like, they didn't have like organized police force. So you would just like get a bunch of your boys and you'd be like, we're going to go mess some stuff up around town.
That.
So they form a posse and they're like, oh, I think we forgot where he went. Like,
Yeah.
they just follow this trail of like stolen jewelry and stuff.
Yeah. And, well, at least the way I know it is he was at another bar.
Yep.
Drinking.
The Mosquito Tavern in Jersey City.
Oh,
Drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good name, right? You don't hear many bars named Mosquito Tavern.
no, there should be.
I think it was a swamp back then, so that's probably why it was called Mosquito Tavern.
Yeah.
But
but yeah, they found him. He was drinking, and God, I forget. Do you know the specifics of how they caught him? I think they said that they dumped him in a. Oh no, there was the other thing was, they found the Sawyer's bodies. He dumped him in a pile of manure. That was how he thought that would be enough to.
Sure.
yeah, like nobody
Marcus.
noticed.
Yeah.
But I think he honestly thought like I'm gonna be out of here, and by the time I'm on the boat, like nobody's gonna
Well, they,
find
like,
me.
get it
Yeah.
figured
But like
out.
he's an idiot.
Yeah.
That's the other
But
part.
basically, they found him. He was drinking again. Rounded him up, brought him back to Morristown. I think the trial was like 2 weeks. It was something super quick.
No, it was 20 minutes.
20. Well, they held him, I think, for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then 20 minutes was it took him 20 minutes.
No, like,
and it was like, yeah.
like, definitely didn't.
His lawyer was like,
You're literally wearing his suit.
yeah. Why are you still wearing that?
Right. And he's like, you're guilty and you're going to die. That's all we need to know.
Yeah.
Now let's all go get a drink. While you don't get a drink.
Yeah.
And then September 6, 1833. So it's only, what was that, 4 months.
Yeah.
They executed him.
But the
Send the green.
the sentence though was he was sentenced to be hanged.
Oh, yeah.
But then there was a part 2 of that sentence, which is the crazy part. So it was sentenced to be hanged and dissection.
Oh.
So it wasn't just
By Dr. Canfield.
by Dr. Canfield, another person that has ties to like Revolutionary Morristown.
Putting his family behind the pictures.
Yeah. But back then, that was like the time when they were like experimenting with like electricity, and they were experimenting with like back then, if you wanted to find out about the human body, like it was kind of frowned upon to like investigate people. So you would just get like cadavers, or you would get like dead bodies.
Well, before we get to the post-execution thing,
yeah.
this is how big of an event this execution was.
Right, because I do want to talk about like the execution and stuff,
Yeah.
too.
So it's 1833. This is the last execution, public execution on the green, because of how crazy this was. So I don't know the exact specific, but there was, dozens of people, public executions on the green. It was like a football game. It was fun. Let's go. Let's bring the kids and eat lunch on the green and watch somebody get, killed. Who deserves it?
Right.
But
Stole that horse.
yeah. So this was such a
Also murdered.
And it's about herself. But yeah. And the horse was the big one. Though.
yeah. But this was such a huge story at the time.
Yeah.
So Morristown was 3,000, let's say, people was in the town. 12,000 people showed up to watch the execution.
Holy shit.
It was such a big thing that they knew it was going to be a big thing that one of the Vales, which was a very, very important family at Morristown history.
The Vale Mansion.
The Vale Mansion, there was a congressman, the inventor, Alfred Vale, very important. So one of the Vales, I believe it's Stephen Vale, he owned the ironworks, and they made a specific gallows that would bring his body up 8 feet so everybody could get to see him.
Holy shit.
So they were like, and I don't know how 12,000 people could see. I don't know how 12,000 people fit on the green.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's like
Like, was there the
5
food?
St. Patrick's Day.
Food in Morristown for that many people?
Yeah.
No way. But then also,
I mean, I get it because there's no buildings.
Yeah,
So it's kind of
like
flat.
around the
but
center.
still, that's wild.
But they're like, this is such a big event. We gotta make sure everybody sees this motherfucker. So we're gonna make a special machine to hang him. They hang him 8 feet. Everybody sees it. Everybody has the cotton candy. It's very fun.
Well, the machine too was like back then when you think of someone getting hanged, it's like they had a chair and they fall.
Yeah, it's
but
different.
this thing went up for some reason.
Yeah.
There was a weight that like pulled him up, and that's why. So it was like this was the high technology of the day.
Yeah.
It's like a new way to like weirdly kill this guy like,
Right.
for some reason.
And it was such a huge event that afterwards, I guess the town officials were like, we can't do this.
Yeah.
We can't have 12,000 people come
Second
here.
thought, this is a little fun.
Yeah.
The PR guy was like, well, they got to stop doing this.
Yeah, this is, it's like we could still do the fall festival and have the St. Patrick's Day parade, but we can't have 12,000 people see a French guy get. So
Who deserved it?
who deserves it?
Yeah.
Yeah, he killed Phoebe. Who cares about the stories? But dead. They let him hang for I think it's like 40 minutes. They let us in there.
Yeah.
Then on goes the electrical proceedings where they cut him down, bring him to the courthouse. Dr. Camfield's there. And
back then they were really interested in, like, Frankenstein was written by Mary Shelley in 1818, I believe. And that was like, Frankenstein's monster, not Frankenstein. Young Frankenstein made that very abundantly clear that that's the case. But, I think that they were like experimental electricity. They were like, how does this stuff work that we discovered? So they were like, they loved to like see like
hook him up.
Hook him up. Can we reanimate a human body?
Yeah.
Can we do that? Like, this is like pretty new technology. They had the gallows was the new technology.
Yes,
and then
yes.
now we're going to try some new technology.
Well, first also because I think they were worried that they might blow him up.
Yes.
This is kind of funny. They made a death mask, which is just a simple, I don't know really what the substance is, but you
It's like
just
plaster and put it over their face.
So there's a death, Abraham Lincoln has a death mask, Washington, all the important people, Antoine Le Blanc, all these great Americans have death masks. And his death mask, along with other things we'll get to, I believe is either still at the courthouse or at the Morris County Library.
Yeah. Those kids play with it at night.
Back to they did chuck it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, they put the oil in it.
Yeah.
So, and then they did all the electrical.
Yeah, so they hooked him up to a battery, primitive battery, and there was some science. There was a Dr. Camfield, and there was another doctor from Princeton University who was in town, and they hooked him up to a battery, and allegedly they got one of his eyes to move. They got like the muscle to twitch and something else. Yeah,
They're pumping so much electricity.
Yeah, like he's not. Of course, something's gonna happen. Yeah. So they do that, and they're like, well, that was I think actually, it was right on South Street, where I think Coniglio's is today. That was the doctor's office.
Oh,
where they took him to. That's where I think it was. Right?
Somewhere there,
Yeah, so they took him there. And then afterwards, they're like, well, the injustice hasn't been enough for this guy. So they take him on Atno Street. There was a tannery, which a tannery is a place you make leather products at.
Yes.
And they, his sentence was death to be hanged and dissection. So the dissection part came into play. And because there were so many people in town at this point, everybody needs a souvenir. You go to anywhere, you get the big pencil with the big topper.
You go to the Peter Pan ride.
Yeah,
So you walk out the gift shop.
So they proceeded to take his skin off.
Yes.
And they made it a keepsake. So you could take a strip of Antoine Le Blanc's skin home with you. They also made it into wallets, lampshades, I believe.
Lampshade wallets.
Book covers.
Book covers. I even heard I guess they didn't have pocket books as like today, but like bigger.
Like a clutch.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's so fucked up.
Yeah.
That's why I call this a skin wallet story. That's why I didn't want to, say it.
Very prominent people took this,
Yeah, that's crazy.
People were going nuts for this. Like, this person was just alive 24 hours ago.
Yeah, but here's your wallet.
You're like, go buy a sandwich, like this, like skin wallet. Yeah. So to this day, people in Morristown, I think pretty recently, so they found one they didn't know existed, but like most of these keepsakes are just disappeared.
So all of them they went fake, was signed by the sheriff of Morristown. So that's how you would know, this is a legit Antoine Le Blanc skin wallet. It has his signature.
Like a Louis Vuitton.
It's numbered. They're each numbered like a collector's item.
Yeah.
One of 300.
Yeah. Well, that would be a lot of skin.
That's a lot of skin.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the big guy.
It is the biggest organ of the body.
It's true.
There's some facts for you guys.
So-
Maybe with so many facts.
But just to connect this to my dad's time as a county guard. So he's been retired for 15 years now. And so I don't know if they maybe moved it or whatever. In the courthouse, and not the actual courthouse, in one of the main buildings, they still have the death. The
mask.
No,
the gallows.
They have the gallows.
Really?
They have the gallows. It's like up top somewhere, just in storage.
Okay, I was like on display. That's
No, it's like I saw it as a kid.
Yeah.
But the rules were lax about bringing children
To see the gallows,
some death machine.
That same PR guy was like, no, we got to stop with the gallows in Morristown. This is not happening.
Yeah, but the gallows are still in Morristown, just kind of locked away somewhere. The special weights they had used to bring them up were used as door stoppers, like well into the 1950s and 60s.
That's so wild.
I don't know what they did with them afterwards, but like, and this is such a big moment that everything was marked. Like, these were the rocks we used to kill this man.
Yeah.
Let's keep sure this door is open. This is what I use.
Because I forget my keys every day, and I don't want to deal with that anymore, you know?
And then my dad has held and seen at least one of the wallets, and they're all scattered. So some, I believe, again, the library might have something, you know, some are still in private.
Sure.
They're probably in someone's attic right now, and you don't even realize it.
Yeah.
You turn your light on every day, and you flip the switch, you're like, that's a weird leather on that light. Yeah, light shade. Yeah. They told me it was beaver. Yeah. Why is this signed? I've never seen a signed beaver wall before. Yeah.
But the other thing is, so he was never buried. I don't know. There was rumors that the good Dr. Camfield, you know, after you're done with the skin, you just boil the body, take the meat off, and now you have a skeleton to use for medical reasonings.
Of course.
So I don't know if that's true or real, you know, if that's false, but that's one of the rumors. But I believe it was in the 50s. One day they were going through just boxes and the official whatever, and they opened it up, and it was Antoine Le Blanc, just his bones. And that's it. I don't know what they did with them. So Antoine Le Blanc for, what was it, for 120 years was just in a little box.
That's so crazy.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Next to like tax return forms.
just like other doorstops.
Yeah. The most famous murder in Morristown, you know, Morris County.
Yeah. Right. So this one that we're talking about, I wish Connor was here, but you got sick and couldn't do it. But you'll probably know. What's the bar that was called something? Jimmy's Haunt.
Jimmy's Haunt. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and he was like telling me stories. Like the one day when I was here talking to Connor about doing this episode, like he was telling me stories like about Jimmy's Haunt, which is like such a crazy name for like a bar. They lead also haunted.
Yeah.
But
So Jimmy's Haunt, that was the same exact building that the killings happened. That building, I forget when they knocked it down, early 2000s, I guess. But yeah, it was a good, you know, fun bar, whatever, nightclub. And I know a lot of people who work there. Yeah. And they tell, you know, you go downstairs when you shift, you know, after everything's closed, you go downstairs, they had a creepy downstairs, which was probably the same room that he slept in.
yeah.
And one of my good friends, Darrell, he would tell me when he worked there, he was like, you would just hear shit, you would feel sick. I mean, it was just
like doors opening and closing, like weird stuff.
Spooky as shit. I mean, it was just terrible.
Yeah.
And this was a guy who was gonna, you know, bullshit you. And he's not the only one.
Right.
And yeah, and like you said, they leaned into it, and it was, I wish it was still there. I mean, it was such a cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a cool story. And they even think, I mean, not to get off topic again, but like Greystone. Greystone is the spookiest thing they haven't happened, and it's not
for sure. Yeah.
but it's not there anymore.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, we could do a whole episode just on Greystone, the atrocities and the horrors.
Yeah.
But now you go there, it's a kickball field.
Right. Which is insane.
It is.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, it's just the cover up of history, even if it's ugly history.
Yeah.
It's still cool. I mean, come on, mass murder and skin wallets. That's,
That's like it's such a cool story.
Episode.
It's such an insane story, and it really is like it tells you a lot about like early American history when people are like, oh, it was a simpler time. It's like 13,000 people showed up to watch someone get hanged, and then like eat sandwiches, and they're like,
maybe I'll take to get his
skin.
Yeah. Like they were different than anyone today. You know, it's kind of crazy to think about it. These are people just as like curious and like, you know, I'm gonna go. Why? Of course, if like I'm gonna hear about that, I'm going.
Totally. Yeah.
And it's also, I mean, you know, clipping off locks of his hair. Somebody just wanted me, oh, this is a guy who killed somebody. I have his hair.
Yeah.
You know, this is gonna come in handy.
That's so crazy. Yeah. Morristown. A lot of interesting stuff. But I just think it's just so crazy too. Like we're talking about Greystone, like all these other things. Like now some things are banks, a kickball field, and whatever.
Yeah.
It's like you don't even really know, But then you start
you get a TD Bank credit card and put it in Antoine Le Blanc's skin wallet.
Oh,
Dude, it's kind of full circle.
Yeah.
So now we gotta find the wallet.
and he would like that. It would make him happy.
Right.
That's a really
because he was looking for money.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. Man, that would be like the most Morristown story of all time.
That's more sad story of all time.
That could unlock the hobgoblin.
There we go. And we got our treasure.
And it's full circle.
Full circle. Wow. I love that. You're such great ass. Now, this has been great. Like, I really appreciate you guys jumping on and sharing your Morristown history knowledge and some ghost stories here on Halloween and all that kind of stuff. It was awesome. Like, I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So, again, we had Dan Johnson and Joey Viola here today for our special Halloween edition episode of Greetings from the Garden State. Thank you again to Glenbrook Brewery for the beers and for giving us the space up here to record. I'm sure there's way more that we can talk about, but we'll have to wait till next Halloween to do it. So start putting that into the mental Rolodex of, more Halloween stories we can talk about and stuff around Morristown and all that. And then maybe we'll go, check some of these spots out.
I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think that'd be cool. That would have been cool, but logistically, it was just going to be a nightmare.
Yeah, that Grave alone is such a unique, it tells the story of New Jersey. But I mean,
so many people there that just you hear about, read about.
Totally.
Fell asleep in history class learning about,
Yeah, right. I remember that. Yeah. I really appreciate it. These stories were awesome. We talked about the smallpox masquerade. We talked about the masquerade with Jockey Hollow. The dead children at Foster Fields.
Yes.
The Morristown ghost, which I thought was a nice little
palate cleanser.
'Cause I feel like it couldn't all be just death and terribleness and people just not knowing how terrible they were being at that time.
This Halloween, if you leave out $30 on your front porch, Ransford Rogers might stop by and give you some gold.
Totally.
Yeah. What's the worst you have to lose?
Exactly. $30.
Yeah.
Like you said, spend $30, make 100.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. And then the Morristown Ghost, and then obviously the Skin Wallet story, the Antoine Le Blanc. Did I get that right?
Correct. Yes. Yep.
So yeah, that to me is one of the most ridiculous, crazy stories I've ever heard in my entire life.
And again, LeBlanc, like I said, we don't know where he's buried. We don't know what happened to him. So he
could be anywhere in Morristown.
Literally in multiple places. You don't know.
He probably is in multiple places.
He probably is.
Yeah.
It's in your attic.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah, he's a real guy who could be haunting the green.
He could be.
He could be.
Yeah.
Totally.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I would be pissed if I got hung like that on the green.
Yeah.
And then got Morristown, everyone in Morristown got it has me, I definitely love that place for sure. But again, thanks to Dan Johnson, thanks to Joey Viola, special Halloween episode of Greetings from the Garden State. Thank you to Lasso for filming this episode for us today, and thank you to Glenbrook for giving us the beers and the space. This has been the Greetings from the Garden State podcast. I'm Mike Cam. We'll make sure that we put greetingsfromthegardenstate.com in the show notes so you can check out all of our other episodes. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you next time.